Everyone is talking about this here, this bill, this continuing resolution bill that got killed by Elon Musk, I guess, and X and the people that are on X, and people are real upset about it.
Co-president.
They're real upset.
Elon Musk.
Co-president day. From the New York Times here, President-elect Donald Trump's denunciation of a stopgap spending bill has left Republicans without a strategy to fund the government, and Speaker Mike Johnson is grasping for a way to avert a shutdown this weekend. Trump torpedoed the bipartisan deal Johnson had struck, leaving him caught between two seemingly untenable options. And as we know, Elon Musk went crazy on the bill yesterday, tweeted like 100 times about it, and he's got 208 million followers. And so whipped up a lot of people yesterday, even said that any Republicans who voted for the bill need to have primary opponents funded against them. And that is a viable threat, it turns out, because typically back in the olden days, I don't know if you kids out there remember this, but back in the olden days, this would have just worked. They would have put out the bill a day before they voted on it. It'd be 1,500 pages. They barely had time to get the thing printed off before it's time to vote on it. Killed a lot of trees. A lot of trees die in the process of these bills. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then they would have just voted on it. They would have passed it. People online would have talked about how they were mad. And then they would have voted for the same people again afterwards, and nothing would have changed at all. And that's it.
But now, when their jobs are threatened, they actually are like, oh, shoot, I want to get reelected. So I need to do something about this.
And so that's...
and what Josh said here, break them up into 12 bills. Like, look, if you want to create one bill to, fund the essential parts of the government, like make sure the military gets paid and things like that, which even if there's a government shutdown, the military still gets paid.
They're still going to get paid.
All these people are like, oh, the veterans and military, they live paycheck to paycheck. They're not going to get paid. No, they're going to get paid. Mm-hmm. Those people get paid.
I believe places like Navy Federal will advance the checks for the time that there's a shutdown. Like, there's rarely people who go without getting paid during this time. There'll be like a park that's closed, and they'll take a picture of a girl standing outside a fence that's been chained together at a park, and everyone will be really upset about that. But
also, why do you have to lock up the park?
They have to do it. That's their last standing order before they get shut down, is they have to chain the park gates together. Because you can't just have people going into a park.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. You can't just have people like in a parking spot in their camper in the park or whatever that is. You got to shut it down. You got to chain the gates together. In the old days, this would have worked. And, just this first paragraph here from the New York Times, it's left Republicans without a strategy to fund the government. No, there is an easy, simple, clear strategy. You create what is called a clean CR, which just says, whatever's going on right now, we're going to pay for that up until this time. Okay? Whatever the previous bill said was going to happen, the previous bill said were going to happen, those still going to end on those dates. For instance, like the GEC, the Global Engagement Center, is supposed to expire this week. It got funded originally for 8 years. It's supposed to expire. Okay, so whatever's supposed to happen happens. We're going to fund the stuff until this date. We're not going to add a bunch more stuff on top of that. We're just going to fund the current things until then. And that's it. And if you care about disaster relief, well, guess what? This bill for disaster relief is a bill that they copy-pasted into the CR. They could just Control-Z that shit, bring it back over here to this, introduce it, and they could vote on it.
Yeah.
Okay? That's all I got to do. Mm-hmm. Just take it out of there, have people vote on that separately, and then do a clean CR. There's your strategy. Pay me my money right there.
Disaster relief is funded.
That's all you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we could have an annoying libertarian conversation about disaster relief and stuff like that, but
you're just trying to solve problems.
I'm just trying to solve the problem. Because right now it's Elon Musk, who's worth $400 billion, has stripped away disaster relief from people in these states. They don't care. They just want to get rich and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, you did that, man. You put it inside a bill that added a whole bunch of other stupid stuff in it. Mm-hmm. All right? This ain't working anymore, hopefully. This is potentially White Pill Thursday. I'm warning you, man.
Yeah.
Potentially White Pill Thursday, because there's a chance that because the world's biggest influencer became almost a libertarian, he's not a libertarian because none of us are, okay? But he's not a libertarian for sure. We know that. But because he became almost libertarian and he's the world's biggest influencer, he's got a lot of money, whole bunch of money, that maybe these maybe these days are numbered that they get to hold these things hostage over people to get whatever crazy stuff they want.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it's
That's
great.
a good thing. I don't know why you're so mad about it.
Yeah. Well, lots of people are mad about this.
Just some of the ridiculous nature of this. I mean, just by looking at how many pages there are, it's crazy. Nancy Mace posted a little breakdown of it. 1,547 pages long and covers a period of 84 days. Now, I know this bill is dead, and so we don't really have to go through the bill and all that, but it is important to see what they tried to do, which is what they do every single year. And they tried to do the same thing that they always do. And this is a really good diagnosis of why we're in the situation that we're in right now, because this is what they do. And typically it would have worked. It would have passed. And so I think it's interesting to look at the crazy stuff that they snuck into this thing. And then they give you this 1,547 pages a day before you're supposed to vote on it. Like, why didn't they give it to people last week or the week before that?
They were still negotiating.
Yeah. That's what it was. Or they know that people would have had time to read it and the people wouldn't have liked it.
Yeah.
That could be a thing that they know. The last CR, which was an actual clean CR on September 26th, was 21 pages. And that was a CR for 85 days. It got us up to now. The first 14 pages are the table of contents. 9 pages is the actual CR. 9 pages is the actual CR. After that, the remaining 1,524 pages are unrelated to keeping the government open. It's all new stuff. But this bill is to keep the government open and avert that terrible, awful government shutdown that everyone is so afraid of. She said it's basically an omnibus, not technically an omnibus. Calls it a CR omnibus or a C Romnibus is what I want to call it. Let's see. $100 billion in hurricane disaster relief, which is much needed, but is not needed to keep the government open and should be a standalone bill. Like I said, they could submit it right now, and they would vote on it, and it would pass, and then they
Biden
would have the
allegedly would sign it. No.
Biden would sign it, or he'd make an X on the spot, or whatever he can do, and they and that would be fine. But that's not the point. The point is that they want to be able to hold all those people hostage so they can get all the other stuff in the bill that they want. Okay, let's see. Page 25, $3 million for molasses inspections. That's a big deal right there for sure. Skirt statutory pay goes so the government doesn't have to pay for programs by offsetting spending elsewhere. That's on page 101. Okay. Page 102 declares our statutory pay go scorecard is 0. Congress does this because if the pay go is above 0, it triggers sequestration. Okay, so they got to reduce spending on things to offset those. 133, allow gasoline with up to 15% ethanol to be sold year-round. The subsidy for corn farmers is unrelated to keeping the government open. That's part of that disaster. You got to get farmers their subsidies. We talk about farm subs. It's not like cutting checks directly to farmers, but they do things like requiring more ethanol in the gas. Crazy one here. Fund censorship by extending the Global Engagement Center. Well, that's a really important thing that must be put in there to make sure the government stays open, to make sure that we get disaster relief to hurricane victims, right?
Exactly.
That's all this bill is about.
Here's another one. Section 1002, page 938, exempts members of Congress from having to enroll in Obamacare. That's necessary to keep the government going.
You gotta do that. And it defines music tourism.
Nice.
Okay, that's good. It's got a lot of stuff about how important it is to bring people here for music tourism. So that's good. Redefining things. Homeless individuals redefined to individuals experiencing homeless children to children experiencing homelessness. Lot of low-skilled adults to adults with foundational skill needs. Let's see. Criminal offenders is changed to justice-involved individuals. So that's very important as well. I want to go back to this Global Engagement Center thing because this is so important to keeping the government open, of course. Originally, they funded the Global Engagement Center for 8 years. Okay? Now, from what I can tell, this is about the same thing as having a time machine. Okay? This is because they signed this bill for fiscal year 2017 and said the GEC had 8 years. And lo and behold, they go back and they change history by amending it to say 9 years.
Oh.
They're like, no, what those people
We
in
didn't mean
Congress
to
actually
complete-
meant was 9, not 8.
We didn't mean to complete that 8 there. We didn't mean to.
No.
Yeah. We should have.
It's a smudge.
The ink should have stopped.
That smudge right there. And so, like, the Global Engagement Center is one of the
Probably originally in this bill, it probably said like 4 years. Then they moved it to 5.
This has probably already been changed.
It's probably already, yeah. Magoo says, "Are kids? Are they redefining kids as just people experiencing youth now?"
That's good. Here's a guy from, I think, Washington Examiner talking about the Global Engagement Center. Here's a little clip about that. I mean, it's crazy that they tried to sneak in an extension of this. This was supposed to end this thing that we're supposed to be fighting terrorism. This is a executive order from Obama creating this whole apparatus. We're going to fight terrorism. And so they're out there fighting disinformation and trying to catch people that are recruiting terrorists for ISIS and stuff like that. And eventually, if you can imagine such a world, that ended up getting turned around and pointed back towards the United States, where they were going after conservatives and conservative viewpoints. So it becomes like
online censorship.
Yes. And so the Twitter files exposed a lot of stuff from the Global Engagement Center, where they were interacting back and forth with Dorsey and Yoel Roth and people like that, and saying
Zuckerberg.
They're like, oh, you guys got all this Russian disinformation on here. And Yoel Roth is like, I don't see any Russian disinformation on here. And they're like, no, it's Russian disinformation. That's what it is.
Especially the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Yeah. And Roth is like, we can't find any. We're looking for the Russian disinformation. And GEC's like, just find some. As a matter of fact, here's a list of all of it. And they're like, there's actually an email where they say apparently what they mean is people who like agree with some of the same things as Russia and the things that they say as being people who are spewing Russian disinformation and propaganda and stuff like that.
Putin plants.
Pro-Putin individuals.
Yeah.
We still hear this right now. And
Like Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah. Tulsi, Scott Horton, people like that. Here's a little clip about GEC.
Laura, our series in the Washington Examiner, Disinformation Inc., has unpacked how the United States government, specifically the State Department, has funneled hundreds of thousands of dollars through the Global Engagement Center, as well as the National Endowment for Democracy, which is heavily backed by the State Department, to an entity called the Global Disinformation Index, which is secretly compiling blacklists of conservative media outlets and feeding those to advertising companies with the intent of defunding and shutting down the free and independent press. And so our series has essentially linked taxpayer dollars to efforts to target the First Amendment.
Well, Miranda.
All right, so that's from that guy, and we thank that guy for that. And
now remember when we talked about how they are silencing us, and that was all a conspiracy theory.
Of course it is.
But now it comes out there, not only are they doing that, but they're using taxpayer money to do it.
To fund what are called non-governmental organizations, even though they're funded by the government, but then they take the funding that they get and they turn that back around and fund other people that are going after people who are just exercising free speech in the United States. And so the U.S. government is effectively censoring speech, even though they're paying other people to do it, and they pay these people.
I think we should file a lawsuit.
Well, Daily Wire is already in a lawsuit with GEC. It's too late for that.
No, I'm just saying
right now.
Let's file it against whoever, the State Department.
Maybe it'll be like class action and we can all get a piece of it,
I think we should file a federal lawsuit against the State Department.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
That'll be cheap, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
We should be able to do that. One of my favorite things I found yesterday accidentally, I was reading about something else. I was trying to find that, yesterday we mentioned there was a tweet saying this allows them to force people to wear masks and vaccine mandates and stuff like. I never found, if you can imagine, I never found what that person was talking about. I saw speculation about what one vaguely worded thing could be, which I get that. The government can typically take a vaguely worded thing and turn it into whatever the scariest environment imaginable, and so I get that. But I accidentally read too far, and I found this part about vaccine injury compensation. And did a little digging on this. The vaccine injury compensation program is something that exists, by the way, because they gave vaccine manufacturers immunity from liability with their vaccines.
So who pays for compensation if you get injured? You do.
So it's funded, just to be technical here, it is funded via a tax on each unit of vaccines that are sold. There is a 75-cent excise tax that goes into a pool of money that they can then pay out to the vaccine. And we pay for it. Yeah. Tax people who pay taxes pay for it. So
yeah, because who bought all the vaccines?
Yeah, that's an expense.
Taxpayers.
Yeah, it's like a tariff on ourselves.
Yeah.
For the vaccines or whatever. So they put this into a pot, and they have a official list.
Is it in a lockbox?
It is in a VICP lockbox. They cannot rate it for anything else, okay? And they pay out, and there's an official list of vaccines that they will pay out, and there's criteria for why they might pay out, and you can basically try and go and get some compensation from the VICP. And essentially what this bill did was it excluded the COVID vaccines from the vaccine injury compensation program, which was
weird,
interesting to me.
Why would they need to do such a thing?
And so it set rules basically on how the incoming health secretary, who could be RFK Jr., would be able to add the COVID vaccine to the vaccine injury table, and then says, well, anyone who had vaccine injuries while the vaccine was being used during emergency use under something that's called the PrEP Act, while it was being used under that doesn't qualify for any compensation. And so it effectively removed all the liability for any injuries that may have occurred during the COVID pandemic from the vaccines that people got. In this bill to avert a government shutdown.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense. Yeah. Well, it's about spending and saving money.
Yes.
Nate. Yeah.
Well, like I said, it saves money.
Yeah.
You know, it excludes a lot of people from being able to get paid out from this vaccine injury compensation program. So it saves money.
Sure does.
For sure. Okay, so what do we have here? We talked about GEC. Before we move on, I guess I do want to make sure we mention that there was another bill that went through yesterday in the Senate. Now, this is something that the government likes to do. There's something that everyone was focused on yesterday, including us, and like everyone else that uses X or social media, and we were focused on this CR. But the Senate passed something called the Social Security Fairness Act, which
it sounds fair too, by the way.
It's fair, so you can't be upset about it, but it passed overwhelming 73-27, including getting a vote from none other than J.D. Vance, who's still in the Senate right now. So he voted for it, and it will add an additional $200 billion in funding or expenses to come from Social Security, of course, over a 10-year period. Now, that's kind of a rounding error, but it was a $200 billion bill. That's their initial projections.
That, of course, we can afford.
That we can afford.
Yeah.
So what it does is it extends Social Security to people who typically don't get it or don't get as much of it, which are state and federal government employees who pay into pension programs and get their state and federal pensions.
You forgot to mention one thing.
What's that?
They also don't pay into Social Security.
Yeah. Some of them don't. I can't tell you that is a thing for everyone, but I can tell you that I have inside knowledge from someone who is on a state pension program in Illinois who does not plan on getting Social Security because they don't pay into Social Security. They pay towards their state pension, and that is what they're going to get for retirement.
Well, it says about nearly 800,000 retirees fall under the government pension offset, the GPO, federal policy.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the people that aren't paying in. That, well, now they're going to get it.
Now they're going to get it.
If it passes the House.
It's fair. It's fair. It's the Social Security Fairness Act, and what's fair about it is that a bunch of people are going to get it that didn't pay into it.
Yeah.
What's unfair about that?
Nothing.
Not to mention they get pensions paid out to them too that have been bailed out by us several times as well.
Perfect.
What's not fair about that?
No.
Sounds great.
These people have to eat, Nate. Pay their house note. Okay.
Oh my God. Okay, so people have been upset about Elon, this robber baron billionaire, who's out there controlling the United States government, President Elon Musk. And that talking point definitely went out. I think it's a smart talking point, by the way, because I don't think Trump is going to like people calling Elon President Musk. I think that's going to get under his skin eventually.
What about co-president?
Co-Presidente Musk, I think that he might go for that. That's fine. Which, by the way, a lot of people said people didn't vote for this. They didn't vote for Elon Musk. Actually, I'll tell you the truth. I specifically voted for Elon Musk. I did. If Elon would have had nothing to do with Trump at all and had stayed neutral and said, yeah, it's not good, I probably wouldn't have voted for Trump. That's probably one of the biggest things that swung me towards voting for him. Yeah, I just wouldn't have voted. So here's a couple news clips of people being upset.
Donald Trump is asking you to do him a big favor. Would you please raise the debt ceiling for him right now so that he can give those tax cuts to Elon Musk and other billionaires next year?
Well, Lawrence, I think you have it just half a click off. It's not Donald Trump asking for this. It's very clearly President Elon Musk asking for this. The fact that Donald Trump has been completely AWOL during these negotiations to the point where only after Elon Musk publicly tweets about his displeasure and about this budget deal, all of a sudden, Donald Trump, chief of staff to Elon Musk, comes trotting in and blows up the deal. And let's be very clear. This means that what Elon Musk and Donald Trump are doing is likely at this point to shut the government down over Christmas.
That's only the case if they refuse to do a clean CR and to do a separate disaster relief. Or they could do a clean CR that has the disaster relief bill added in it. Now, there has been one thing asked for on top of this, and this one gets very tricky for everyone, okay? Turns out Trump and J.D. Vance, and now with agreement from Elon Musk, also want this new bill that might not exist right now to include raising the debt ceiling to a point where they won't have to have any debt ceiling fights during Trump's presidency. They want this to happen under Joe Biden, and they want this to be part of Joe Biden's legacy, and they want the Democrats to be the one that are shutting down the government over not raising the debt ceiling. Okay, as of right now, it's supposed to happen in January because their debt ceiling was initially raised to like 31 point something trillion, and it'll immediately have to be raised up to like 36.5 trillion, something like that,
or 40.
And might as well make it even 50. Just making it even 50 trillion. So this one is a little more complicated because I don't think we should have more debt, in my opinion. And people like Trump and Elon and Doge and Ramaswamy and J.D. Vance, they want to fix the debt too. But obviously they know a fact that none of us like, which is that we're going to have more debt. But I think they should have to have that debt ceiling fight on their own. Yeah. They should have to make that argument on their own.
How about we cut spending?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Cut the spending.
Yeah.
And so every time you want to have a debt ceiling, but the problem is since they might need some Democrats to go along with them, or Democrats could obstruct, or they don't have a filibuster-proof majority, things like that. What they're worried about is that the Democrats aren't going to go along with it if they fix this problem by cutting a bunch of spending. In order to make sure the debt ceiling gets raised or whatever, the Democrats are going to be against it. What's crazy to me is that Democrats use this, you're going to shut the government down thing against Republicans. Why are they afraid to use that against the Democrats? Because then they would be the ones that are going to be shutting things down.
Yeah.
If that argument works, I don't know.
I don't know that argument works anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure it does. Let's see. Trump said, Charlie.
All right, sounds like the ridiculous and extraordinarily expensive continuing resolution plus is dying fast, but can anyone imagine passing it without ever terminating or extending the debt ceiling guillotine coming up in June. Unless the Democrats terminate or substantially extend debt ceiling now, I will fight till the end. This is a nasty trap set in place by the radical left Democrats. They are looking to embarrass us in June when it comes up for a vote. The people that extended it from September 28th to June 1st should be ashamed of themselves. It was political malpractice. Also, the Communist Global Engagement Center, a project of crooked Hillary Clinton, should not in any way, shape, or form be extended. And the shielding of the very corrupt J6 Unselect Committee of political losers and thugs, would be suicidal for any Republican approving it.
It really is Mad Libs all the time.
Likewise, this is not a good time for Congress to be asking for a pay increase. Hopefully, you'll be entitled to such an increase in the near future when we make America great again. The corrupt J6 Unselect Committee.
You know, as we always say, the problem with all that stuff is that I don't remember what he said anymore. Like, I laughed about a bunch of the adjectives and stuff.
Well, he's saying the debt ceiling is a trap that the Democrats have set so that when it comes up in June, it's going to make the Republicans look like fools.
Yeah.
But my thing is, there's a way around that to just cut the spending.
Yeah.
Like, the debt ceiling should be high enough.
It should be enough.
Like, we raised the roof.
It's been raised quite a lot.
30-something trillion dollars. That's plenty.
It's quite a lot of debt.
Yeah.
If I do say so myself.
It's so much debt, we wouldn't be able to fit the amount of bills in the United States. Like, if you were to print those bills.
I had this glimmer of hope this morning that there was going to be a push for Thomas Massie to be the Speaker of the House, because they might end up going for a new Speaker of the House starting next year. And Thomas Massie has signed up to work with Doge. So that's like, you know, he's taking pictures with Ramaswamy and getting the Doge tweets and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, well, hey, maybe Musk and Ramaswamy throw their weight behind trying to get Thomas Massie in there as Speaker of the House. But then I realized that there is a problem with that, and that Thomas Massie is just a principled human being who does not care who's in control. He just talks and acts on his principles at all times. And that's just not going to work. It's just not going to work out for him. I mean, as far as being Speaker of the House, I hope I'm wrong about that.
Well, yeah, because he wouldn't be a puppet. And so,
yeah. So
when he tells Trump no, Trump would come after him.
So now Trump and Musk are agreeing that they need to go ahead and do the debt ceiling raise right now. Thomas Massie is coming out and saying now conservatives are clamoring for a clean CR and a debt limit increase. Isn't that what Speaker McCarthy was vacated for? How times change. And so he would be against doing this debt limit increase, which, by the way, if they try to throw in a debt limit increase in this bill, that might mean that Thomas Massie doesn't vote for it, and then Musk would be put in the position of primarying Thomas Massie.
Yeah.
If he doesn't vote. I don't know exactly how that's going to work out, but we'll see. We'll see. We did have a lot of ridiculous tweets in there. We got to go. Most of this really can be for don't believe of the week tomorrow. It's a nice AI version of Elon Musk controlling Donald Trump like a puppet, like a marionette.
What were some of Elon's tweets? I didn't see some of them.
It's a lot of them. One of his big ones said, "Your elected representatives have heard you, and now the terrible bill is dead. The voice of the people has triumphed. Vox populi, vox Dei." And so that's one of them that we had pulled up. 208 million followers.
What does it say at the top now? I haven't looked at his profile in a while.
I don't know.
It says the people voted for major government reform.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people complaining about this, but this is sort of what we voted for. Whatever the thing is that they've been doing for however long it is we can all remember, and these Christmas time CRs and all that and big omnibus bills. I know Elon Musk has a lot of money and he's going to be swinging that around to try and control things, but it's kind of what the people voted for, you know? And by the way, he's swinging it around to try and do things to reduce the size of the government and to reduce the power of the government. People compare him to people like George Soros, who funds people who come in there and like subvert the rule of law and, you know, do terrible things to the country and only work towards growing the government. And the government is force and violence and theft.
I tell you what, I'd be no different than Elon Musk if I was in the same position.
This is my dream.
I would be.
I want to buy a government too.
I would be vying for more libertarianism in government.
Yeah.
Exactly. I would be swinging my big money dick and getting as much government out of the way as I possibly could.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would be doing the same thing. Every single one of you would be.
We have our billionaire president, Elon Musk, just single-handedly ruined Christmas for millions of people who won't get paid when the government is closed.
That's not true.
It's not true. It might work. Saying things like that, it might make some people upset. Bernie Sanders says the U.S. Congress this week came to an agreement to fund our government. By the way, what that means is a bunch of people who no one knows who they are at all got together in a secret room and cobbled together this 1,500-page monstrosity and then gave it to people a day before they were supposed to vote on it. And that's what he calls the U.S. Congress coming together with an agreement to fund our government.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's so weird when they come out in favor of backdoor deals.
Yeah.
Like, aren't you against backdoor dealing, Bernie?
Like, everyone's freaking out because if this sticks and they get some kind of a major change and this is sort of the way things go from here on out, we could be looking at real changes. Like, this is sort of the first exercise of Doge, that fake government department. But whatever. I mean, they just took something that is like a conclusion. Thomas Massey, a few months ago, we played the clip yesterday. He's like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. They're going to get a CR a couple days before Christmas, and we're going to vote on it. It's going to be the same thing as always. And that's what's going to happen.
And they tried that.
Yeah, they
It
tried
didn't work
it,
this time.
but this is like our first example or exercise of maybe something is going to be different. And I'm here for it. Okay?
Amen.
He says Elon Musk, who became $200 billion richer since Trump was elected, objected. Nice. Are Republicans beholden to the American people or President Musk? This is oligarchy at work. Oligarchy is when you create a bunch of things that people deem to be very valuable and add a lot of positive benefit to society, and they freely give you their money, which they could take back from you at any time if they wanted to.
Same thing
And
as oligarchy.
that's oligarchy.
Yeah.
I looked it up. It says that people voluntarily give you money for things that you do to provide value to society, and that they could take that money back from you at any time. And so that's the extended definition, but that's the definition of oligarchy if I've ever seen it before.
That is.
We need to go. The moral of the story is people are big mad about this, real upset about it, and screw those people. They're saying that Elon Musk is controlling things. Well, guess what? People don't have to retweet Elon Musk or repost or whatever. They don't have to. He's got a lot of followers, but they don't have to agree with him. They don't have to repost whatever it is he says and comment on it and agree with him.
And they act like there aren't billionaires on the other side of the aisle that are doing the same thing.
Kamala Harris raised $1 billion in this campaign.
1.5.
It's a lot of billion.
Yeah. Did you see that? You see she's coming back in 2028?
Oh, she's back. I hope so. That's great.
Oh, man.
I don't have to make new videos. It's
So
going to be
great.
good.
It's so good. All right, y'all. Well, if you enjoyed today's episode, please share the show with a friend, a family member, or foe. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Go to GodHatesFeds.com or joingml.com to be part of the lovely Fed Haters group where you can join.
Club. It's the Fed Haters Club.
Fed Haters Club. The FHC.
Mm-hmm.
Like Nashville Soccer Club.
Yeah.
This is the Fed Haters Club.
Absolutely it is.
We kick balls around in here.
Government balls.
You can be part of the live group. You can submit submissions for Dumb Bleep of the Week. You can interact on several different channels that Nate has curated of his own volition.
Yes.
Inside of our Discord. So go do that. Visit the links in the show notes to support the sponsors that support the show. And if you do all that or not, we'll be back again tomorrow, whether you like it or not. Until then, I hope you have a good day and a good morning. Libertas.